Hey everyone, and welcome back to TowerGate. It is day 74, May the 16th, 2017, Monday. Alrighty, yesterday I talked about James Comey being the gatekeeper. And to give you an idea what I'm talking about, I think that James Comey, if we look at the fact that he's not been able to find out who any of the leakers are, he's not been able to prosecute anybody or come to any or produce any evidence really that would lead to any type of prosecution. Everybody in the former Obama administration and friends of the Clintons seem to get off the hook with James Comey as the FBI director. But now that the gatekeeper, James Comey, is gone, I kind of look at James Comey as like, he was kind of like the drain plug at the bottom of the swamp that was keeping the swamp from being drained, particularly on this story. So now that James Comey has been pulled, the drain plug, he has been pulled, now the swamp can drain. More importantly, what will happen is now that James Comey is gone, and he was the person who was basically providing protection for Rice and Lynch and Jarrett and all these other people, now that he's gone, a lot of these people in the former Obama administration officials have to be very, very nervous because they fired him. They put security around his office to make sure he couldn't bleach spit anything, destroy any evidence, take any evidence out, or get rid of anything. So basically, I think as soon as we get a new FBI director, they're going to get to work, hopefully find some of those leakers, but more importantly, we're going to be rid of the gatekeeper. Now, in keeping with that story, the first most important story happening today is being reported by Mike Cernovich, whose sources have been pretty good in the last couple of months. So Mike Cernovich is now reporting that suddenly, after Comey was fired, that Susan Rice's lawyers are now reaching out to the FBI and trying to work out an immunity deal. Why would Susan Rice need immunity? Well, you only need immunity if you've committed crimes. Now, as long as James Comey was there, she had protection, right along with other people from the Obama administration and the Clintons. But now that James Comey, the drain plug of the swamp, has been pulled, the swamp can be drained. It's going to make a lot of people very, very nervous, and the swamp monsters are going to begin to surface, and they're going to be looking for some oxygen. And the type of oxygen they'll be looking for is immunity deals. So Mike Cernovich reporting Susan Rice's lawyers, now since the firing of James Comey, very interested in an immunity deal. As you know, for the past couple of weeks, they've been trying to get her to come and testify in front of the House and Senate hearings, and she has declined, or else she's trying to work out a deal where she can do closed sessions, which she describes as classified sessions. No, they're just closed sessions. But apparently the House and Senate Intelligence Committees and Oversight Committees are not interested in that. They want Susan Rice out there in front of the TV cameras with her hand raised and answering questions in front of the public. So anyway, this is a very interesting development. Unlike James Comey, the new FBI director will not be passing out immunity like candy. As we know, James Comey passed out immunity to a handful of people during the Clinton email investigation, gave immunity to Stone Tier and various other people, and got nothing in return. And anyone who knows anything about law enforcement will tell you that you don't offer someone who's guilty of something immunity unless they give you the bigger fish. That's why you give them the immunity. You catch someone who's guilty of a crime and you say to them, okay, we've got you by the short hairs. Of course, we'd be willing to work a deal because the guy we really want is your boss, or this guy, or this guy, or this guy. So if you can help us out with getting that guy, we will grant you immunity. You must be willing to go into court and testify against them. You got to give them up, testify against them. You'll walk free, and we'll put the noose around their neck. This is how immunity works, and this is the type of immunity that I expect Susan Rice's attorneys are looking for. They know that they're not going to get the James Comey type of immunity. They know the type of immunity that Susan Rice is going to get, if she gets immunity at all, she's going to have to give up something or someone. And this also tells you a great deal. This tells you the fact that her lawyers are reaching out for immunity, means that she knows that she is guilty of a crime. We all know she did the unmasking The only question is, was it political? Well, if it appears at this point that there is no evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. Therefore, we know that her spying had to be based purely on politics, because there was no evidence, and we now know that. So it's becoming pretty obvious that Susan Rice and her attorneys understand exactly the predicament that she is in, and she's now looking for immunity. Maybe her only way out. So that'll be an interesting thing to follow in the days ahead. Now that the Gatekeeper is no longer there, we're going to see a lot of this type of thing happening. A lot of people getting very nervous. The man who was protecting them is no longer there. And so now they have to make some very difficult decisions because they know that it's just a matter of time before they're going to find themselves in front of a prosecutor and a jury and a judge. And that's usually when deals are made. So we'll be watching this very closely. Next up today, we have Rand Paul. He's back out there. I told you, Rand Paul's not going to let this thing go. He was interviewed again today and reiterated that he has submitted a written request to know if his name was queried by the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, or anyone else. He wants to know, and he's not going to let go until he finds out. Now, he mentioned something else in this interview today. He said that since he has sent his official written request to the White House to find out if his name was queried in the database, he's now saying that he's been told recently from another senator who he would not name, but he says another senator has come to him and stated that he too was told that he was under surveillance. And he's very interested in finding out if his name was queried as well. I suspect it may be Ted Cruz, but I don't know that. I'm just guessing. So, like I said, Rand Paul's not going to let go of this thing at all. And he's going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. I can assure you of that. Another big story today that popped out is Judge Napolitano, while being interviewed or doing a segment on Fox, stated that, I didn't know this, but he was actually pretty close to Judge Scalia, which I didn't know. I could assume that. They're both fairly conservative types, but I didn't know that he knew Scalia or talked to him very much. But apparently Judge Napolitano and Judge Scalia were pretty good friends and talked pretty often. And Napolitano stated in this interview, or in this appearance on Fox today, that Scalia once told him that he thought that the Supreme Court was under surveillance. He thought that the Supreme Court judges were all being surveilled, that they were being eavesdropped upon, that they were being listened to, that they were being monitored under surveillance, the Supreme Court, during the Obama administration. So again, we're just, and of course we just learned again, this was another story, I think it was an AP, I didn't save the link, but just as I was doing my research for this video, it appears that even Macron, yes, that's right, Emmanuel Macron, who is now the president of France, apparently he too was being surveilled by the CIA or the NSA or somebody. So apparently this surveillance is just absolutely out of control. And it's not a question of whether or not they were surveilling Trump, his campaign team, Rand Paul, presidential candidates, judges, the Supreme Court, other members of Congress, millions and millions, at least hundreds of thousands of Americans, unmasking their phone calls, their text messages, storing their metadata, retrieving it all, going through queries, getting third-level queries on everyone that they search on. It's just absolutely extraordinary. I think that this is going to be much, much bigger. It's even going to be bigger. I mean, it can't get much bigger than a presidential administration spying on his political opponents, using the intelligence agencies and law enforcement agencies to do that. But this scandal is even bigger than that, because it's not just limited to his political opponents and limited to members of Congress and things like that. It's literally a dragnet of epic proportions of spying on everybody, world leaders, judges, the Supreme Court, politicians. It just, there's no end to it. The more you dig into this story, the more you find out that the surveillance during the Obama administration, and particularly the unmasking, disseminating the information, creating the leaks, all these things, unprecedented in American history. I do think that we are going to get to the bottom of it. Again, there's a lot of noise out there and a lot of things that are out there that are being used to run interference to keep the real issue where there actually is evidence of crimes, to keep that off the front page. They want to focus on things like Trump collusion, Russia, this and that and the other thing. They don't want to talk about their surveillance, but believe me, it is the thing where there is a tremendous amount of evidence that some serious foul play and illegal activity was going on. And even though they don't want to talk about it in the liberal media, when you see things like Susan Rice seeking immunity, and I think that you're going to see other people now seeking immunity because they know they're going to be called in for these hearings, and now they know that James Comey, the gatekeeper, is no longer there to protect them. I think we're going to see a lot more of this. So again, things just keep moving forward. We just have to be patient. I know it's frustrating to have to sit and watch all this play out, and to see how the liberal media and the Democrats are constantly engaged in this. It's a psychological warfare operation is what it is, really. And it is frustrating, but my suggestion is just don't listen to it. Just don't listen to it. Don't watch it. None of that matters. I'll be honest with you. I mean, you can do all this kind of stuff, and the Democrats may think it's getting them somewhere, but I've been watching politics for a very long time, and I can tell you that, when it comes time for people to vote, and they walk in there, whether it's the 2018 or 2020 elections, people think about just a couple of things. Do I have a job? Do I believe I'll still have a job a year from now? Is the company I work for, is there plenty of work? Is there overtime available? Do things look good for the company? Or if someone owns a business, do they see more orders coming in? Do they see more clients coming in? Do they see people making larger orders for product? People look at things like the 401ks. As we know, the stock market has gone up 2,000 points just since Donald Trump has been president. People are seeing that in their 401ks. Of course, we have lots of jobs being created. We have low gas prices. We have, and that's a result of we haven't started any more Middle Eastern wars. As long as Donald Trump doesn't do any of that type of thing, people will largely vote the economy. If gas prices are low, their utility bill is low, they feel comfortable with their job, they feel like the economy is doing well, that's what people really vote on. They don't pay a lot of attention to all the type of stuff that we're seeing that's going on every day. Eventually it just becomes a big echo chamber of noise, almost like white noise, to the point where it just doesn't have much effect anymore. And that's the problem. The Democrats could not keep this up until 2018, and especially until 2020, and think that it's going to pay them any dividends. Eventually, people just get tired of it. They just don't pay any attention anymore. So there's a lifespan to these types of things. Generally, you try to get, a headline, you get a couple days out of it, maybe a couple news cycles out of it. But the Democrats have beat this to death. There's nothing there. There is no Trump-Russia collusion. No one really thinks that much about the Russians interfering in our elections. No one really believes they turned the election or anything like that. But those things are going to go away. But as I said, what will be left standing will be the thing that has real evidence behind it, and that is the mass surveillance that was going on in the Obama administration, not just Trump, but apparently everybody. So anyway, just don't get too frustrated. It's all going to be just fine. Stay focused on the most important thing, which is what I believe is the surveillance. And I think that ultimately, once Trump drains that swamp and gets all those Obama administration officials out of there and gets his people in there, you give Jeff Sessions some time. He's got a lot on his plate. He's looking at the Hillary email situation. He's looking again at the Clinton Foundation. He's looking again at the Lois Lerner IRS thing. So he's got a lot on his plate. I think once we get a new FBI director, now that the drain plug is gone, and the swamp can be drained, I think we will see more people coming out of the woodwork, more people looking for immunity, and I think it's going to take some time, but I do believe that we are going to get somewhere near the bottom of this swamp anyway, and hold some of those swamp monsters accountable. Alrighty, so thanks for tuning in. I appreciate all you subscribing and sharing the videos. I, of course, love your comments, and look forward to being back with you tomorrow, and we'll see what the next shoe is that we'll drop. Alrighty, you guys take care. Bye.